Manx Radio Sport.
A very good evening and welcome to Saturday Sport Classified, the latest edition here on Manx Radio AM 1368. If you're looking to tune in to Radio Caroline North, that is continuing right now over on Manx Radio Digital. So if you're looking to tune into Radio Caroline, head on over to Manx Radio Digital where that is continuing right now. Well, we are here on AM 1368 for the next hour to take a look through what has been another busy day of sport here on the Isle of Man across the latest football, rugby and hockey fixtures that have been taking place. So, without any further ado, let's get things started with your classified sports results for the Isle of Man for today, Saturday the 13th of January 2024, starting with football. The ECAB FA Cup preliminary round. Malone 0, St Mary's 4. Moraun 5, Castletown 3. Douglas and District 0, Foxdale 5. The Canada Life Men's Premier League. Corinthians 3, Union Mills 1. St George's 3, Ramsey 4. Braddon 1, Laxey 5. Ayr United 11, Douglas Royal 0. In DPS Limited Division 2, Governors Athletic 0, Douglas High School Old Boys 2. Michael United 7, Pulrose 1. In Canada Life Combination 1, Union Mills 4, Corinthians 3. Laxey 5, Braddon 0. Peel 0, St John's United 0. Douglas Royal 0, Ayr United 6. DPS Limited Combination 2. Onken 8, Castletown 2. Jims 3, Foxdale 3. Douglas High School Old Boys 5, Governors Athletic 1. And Douglas Athletic 7, Douglas and District 1. And in the NWCFL Premier Division, Padiham 3, FC Isle of Man 1. Turning now to today's Isle of Man rugby results. The Regional 2 Northwest. Whitchurch 14, Douglas 41. In Counties 4 ADM Lancs Cheshire. Marple 17, Vagabonds 24. And in the Ravenscroft Manx Shield, Western Vikings 48, Castletown 31. Ramsey 72, Southern Nomads 12. Turning now to hockey. The Men's Premier League. Valkyries A 5, Backers B 0. Backers A 5, Castletown A 0. Harlequins A versus Vikings A is a late result. The Ladies Premier League. Harlequins A 0, Castletown A 5. Vikings A 4, Castletown B 0. Valkyries A 4, Backers A 1. In Men's Division 1, Valkyries B 3, Vikings C 0. Castletown B 0, Ramsey A 3. Harlequins B versus Vikings B is a late result. Ladies Division 1, Backers B 1, Vikings B 2. Ramsey A 4, Castletown C 0. In Men's Division 2, Backers D 4, Castletown C 2. Ramsey B 4, Backers Colts 8. In Ladies Division 2, Valkyries C 2, Castletown E 0. Vikings C 1, Harlequins B 4. Castletown D versus Ramsey B is a late result. And in the Under-15s League, Backers 3, Valkyries 6. And Ramsey Rogues and Rascals versus Castletown Sabres is a late result. And in fact, just in the last few moments, we have had confirmation from Ladies Division 2. It has finished Castletown Ladies D 3, Ramsey B 2. So those are your classified sporting results for the Isle of Man in football, rugby and hockey for Saturday the 13th of January 2024. And for any of those outstanding results, if you do have any information on those in the next hour or so, please do text into us 166 177. We'd love to get some details on those and have a quick chat about what's happened during the day. And speaking of a chat about the day, it's been another busy day of football, a mixture of both cup and league action taking place across the island. And back in the studio here as it's starting to get very dark again outside. Good evening, Tony Mepham.
Good evening, Rob. It's a little bit warmer as well. A bit chilly out there this afternoon. I know the sunshine was out there, but we got all the games on, got the results in, and let's get them sorted.
Well, before we get into the results, we do have to say we have been a bit blessed this weekend, haven't we? No postponements today with the adverse weather that we've seen over the last few weeks going into 2024. Great to see every game being played today.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's what the players want. It was quite interesting speaking to someone from Russian today saying it's been quite a while since they've played. But today, Moran's pitch wasn't playable last week, but today it was in splendid condition, and looked at the pitches at Ballafletcher. Same there, so that's what they want. Consistent football. We don't like these postponements. With cup games in and around now, it takes a lot to sort it all out when we lose some games. But luckily today we had 3 to play and we got them all played.
And we'll just tease this for later on as we go through the results in the next few moments. But we do also have a cup draw to take place later in the show, Tony.
Yeah, the Jacksons Under-18 FA Cup, that starts a week on Wednesday. So there's 8 teams in the hat, 4 games to come out of it. And as you say, we'll do the draw later.
That live draw coming up later in the show. Well, let's take a look at the fixtures that have been taking place so far today. We'll start with the ECAP FA Cup preliminary round. 3 games there. These 3 games rearranged from last week when they were postponed due to unfit pitches. Let's start what happened in the south of the island. Malou versus St Mary's. Malou, they'll have been out for what they dubbed a cup set. I do like that phrase, Malou. I might have to steal that off you for the rest of the season. Malou, they were hoping for a bit of an upset and a bit of a shock up against Premier League St Mary's, but it wasn't to be for the hosts. St Mary's, a professional job from them. They've beaten Malou by 4-0.
Yeah, and it's all down to one man today, and I don't know when the last time he scored a hat-trick in senior football, but Chris got it, and well done, Chris Walsh, and he got all 3 goals. Joe Berquist got 1, but he normally plays in midfield, so whether he was allowed to, go up a little bit further today, I'm not too sure. But I just think that's a reasonable result that for Malou, because St Mary's one of the top sides in the Premier League, and Malou, in that mid-table. But today, Chris was just a little bit too strong for him. His hat-trick's the difference, and St Mary's go through, and they are going to play in the next round, if I can find it.
They'll be playing Laxey at home.
Yeah, it is. So, it's another good game, that one, isn't it? Because St Mary's and Laxey have already had battles this year.
Indeed. Well, the second of those ties, this was one that I think plenty of people had their eyes on when these draws were initially made. The game was called off at the last second last week. I know, Tony, you were heading down there and had to divert to a different route once this game was called off due to an unfit pitch. Well, it took place today at Memorial Playing Fields. Bottom of the Premier League, Moran taking on Division 2 leaders Castletown. We thought this could be an interesting game, and certainly, Tony, it did not disappoint. But the Premier League side just about coming out on top in this game. Moran 5, Castletown 3.
Yeah, it was a funny old game because, at the start when, Moran got 2 good goals, one very early on. Carl Hartman scored the first, and then it was Joey Rothwell got one inside the penalty area. But Castletown just didn't seem to get going, but then they sort of found their legs up front and started to create all sorts of problems. Mikey Callister got a goal for Moran, good cross in and a header from him, and then suddenly Castletown started to score goals. Nathan Cardy with a couple, and he could have quite easily have got a third one as well. It was so similar to sort of the second one he'd scored, but Danny Lane's goal was well finished inside the penalty area, struck it well with his right foot, and just second half he expected Castletown to probably develop and get onto bigger things in that second period, but it didn't quite happen because Moran sort of closed things up a little bit at the back, and it just looked an awful lot tighter for them. It was Carl Hartman who got his second of the game, and Rory Kerswick, I think he was a second half substitute, got one that finished up around 5, Castletown 3. And if Castletown could have taken that form towards the end of the first half into that second half, it could have been different, but there weren't too many chances. There's 1 or 2 here and there, a few little challenges, nothing malicious, but a good game, and at least both sides know how Division 2 is strength-wise. Moran and Castletown know what the Premiership is going to look like with Moran sitting at the bottom of the table.
Moran progressing after winning today, and they'll have a tough home tie up against Ayr United.
Yeah, and I don't think that'll faze Moran, to be honest with you, because they know Ayr United, they know how strong they are, and they've had a great day today, Ayr United. But I was talking to the manager afterwards, and they've got one or two players to come back in, and just overall the way they corrected things in that second period just shows that they've got a little bit more in the tank.
And the other ECAP FA Cup preliminary round tie taking place today was an all-Division 2 affair. Douglas and District up against Foxdale. And Foxdale already flying high in Division 2 in league circumstances, and they're putting a commanding display today at Douglas and District, beating Douglas and District by 5-0.
Yeah, good result for them in the end. And Ricky Newsham got 2 of the goals. Charlie Harrison got his name on the score sheet. Jason Charmer and Jay Chatwood. And as you rightly say, Foxdale just below Castletown in that Premier League, in that Div 2. But my word, it's tight, isn't it? When you look down, you look at sort of Colby, Michael and Onken in there. It's all to battle for, but this is a cup game, and sort of Foxdale will be chuffed to bits for this one. But now they travel to Russian, which is not going to be an easy place to go to.
We say Russian in league senses have picked up of late, but against the Foxdale side, they'll be absolutely brimming with confidence still. That could be an intriguing tie.
Well, he will, and I think Anthony Corkle's done a really good job there, because, you know, I've watched them, I think it's twice this season, and I've been impressed with them, and getting Jay Chetwood back has helped things. But just all around, you know, Charlie Harrison, I think he'd been missing for quite a few games. He got himself injured last year, and he come back in, and he caused all sorts of problems when I watched them play. But, you know, it's more getting promotion, isn't it? That's what they're after. Okay, they'll enjoy the cup run, but they want to get themselves back up into the Premier League.
Plenty to get excited about Billy Goat Park, it seems, at the moment at this stage in
Definitely.
the season. OK, let's take a look at the league fixtures that took place today. They got underway at slightly later than the FA Cup preliminary round ties. They start at 1:15. The league game starting at 2 o'clock. Looking at the Canada Life Men's Premier League. Over at Ballafletcher, Corinthians, after what was a big 3 points for them away at Ayr United last week, they hosted a Union Mills side that haven't really had too many games recently, and certainly need the points at the moment given their recent form. But Corinthians making it back-to-back wins over Union Mills. Corinthians 3, Union Mills 1.
Yeah, a bit of a two sides to this story as well, because when I turned up, it was the second half, and Union Mills were leading 1-0. I think they scored that in the first half. Oren Mitchell it was who got the goal, and it was sort of about 25 minutes, I think, from the end of the game where Corinthians sort of got it sorted, but they could have quite easily have gone 2-0 down, because Luke Booth had a good opportunity and it didn't quite happen for them. But then Baron Colley scored with a header, good header from him. Stuart Christian as well got one in to make it 2-1 to Corinthians. And then Ronan McDonald, great ball put in from the right hand side. I think he had a little touch on it first, but then just volleyed it. Good hit from him. And 3-1 it was to Corinthians. Union Mills had a player sent off in the last sort of 10 minutes or so. Not too sure who it was or what it was for. But Corinthians just stuck at it. And well done to them, turning around that 1-0 deficit into a 3-1 win.
And then there was a 7-goal thriller over at Glen Crutchley Road earlier today. St George is still looking for valuable points to try and move themselves away from the bottom stages of the Canada Life Men's Premier League, up against a Ramsey side still pushing in those top 3 positions at the moment toward the top of the league. Got work to do to try and catch Peel and Ayr later in the season. On paper, at least, you would have certainly favoured Ramsey to go into this as the favourites. They have come out on top, Tony, but my word, have they had to work for it. It finished St George's 3, Ramsey 4.
Yeah, absolutely. Cracking game. Got a bit of a match report as well. Thanks to Malcolm Kelly for this one. Thrilling game at St George's. Ramsey dominated possession throughout, but St George's experience at set pieces looked to have won the game before an exciting comeback by Ramsey. Harry Blissett for Ramsey scored after a through ball just before half time. Geordies equalised from a corner with their first shot on target after half-time. Geordie scored for 2-1 after a long throw into the goal area. Then Ramsey keeper was sent off, that's James Rice, for pulling back a Geordie's forward outside the area. Geordie's then scored for 3-1 after Johnny Myers back-headed a long kick from defence to a Geordie forward. Then Greg Hepburn headed in from a Ramsey corner to make it 3-2. Late normal time, Ramsey then got a penalty scored by Dylan Pickles to make it 3-3 in the last minute of stoppage time. A pass from Pickles put Jamie Agnew, who I think was a second half substitute, clear to score a dramatic winner with a shot across the keeper to leave Ramsey elated and Geordie's very disappointed. Well done, Malcolm, great report.
Sounds like a great entertaining game there. And then just a few, about 100 yards away or so, Braddon, of course, they're still fighting away towards the bottom of the table here. They're looking for valuable points as well. They were coming up against a Laxey side who really started to hit their stride in recent weeks after a bit of a hot and cold start, I think it's fair to say, in the league, but certainly starting to find their rhythm at the moment. They've done so again today. Big result for Laxey, beating Braddon at Victoria Road by 5-1.
Yeah, and the thing is, Laxey are doing it in style as well because they're scoring plenty of goals. And Ben Wazza, he got a couple of goals today. Ryan Gartland got one. Adam Meelan on the score sheet. And Greg Kelly, that's his fourth in 2 games. Joe Burrows got the goal for Braddon, but cracking result for Laxey, 5-1.
And then we head over to Andreas playing fields. Ayr United up towards the top of the Canada Life Men's Premier League suffered their first defeat of the season last week at home to Corinthians. But boy oh boy have they bounced back today against the Douglas Royal side, who have been in good form of late as well. Ayr United beating Douglas Royal by 11-0, Tony.
Yeah, that's a terrific result for Ayr United. And sometimes, as I think I said it last week, you can get the first defeat for a long, long time and then the second one comes quickly. And I just thought Douglas Royal today, I know there are probably 1 or 2 players missing, but they would have been a lot closer. But tremendous performance. And Jamie Callister with 2 goals. Sean Kelly, he got 2. Johnny Shields with a couple of goals. Chris Duggan as well with a brace. And Declan Cummins with a couple of goals as well. Cameron Torr got 1. Terrific result. Keeps them in touch at the top of the table with that result for Peel last night. Ayr 11, Douglas Royal 0.
Quite the scoreline from Ayr United's perspective. Well, let's move to DPS Limited Division 2. Just the 2 games there this weekend. Governors Athletic 0, Douglas High School Old Boys 2, Tony.
Yeah, I haven't got any goal scorers in that game. If you could, please, 166, 177.
And then elsewhere, Michael United looking to try and keep in touch with the likes of Castletown, Foxdale, Colby and Onken all in the mix there towards the top of Division 2. Michael United certainly doing that today. A clinical performance from them up against Paul Rose. Their challenges continue in Division 2 this season. Michael United 7, Paul Rose 1.
Yeah, Brian Lowther got the goal for Paul Rose. For Michael, Liam Kane with another 3 goals. Here's a stat. I know you like them.
I love a stat. Go on.
Liam Kane, 40 goals in 13 games. That's impressive.
That is quite extraordinary.
That's quite impressive. It's funny, people have said to me, why doesn't he get a shout at FC Alaman? I don't know what age Liam is or whatever, but he certainly knows how to score goals. Dylan Parrish got 1. Aaron Hamstill got a goal. Kieran Lane and Sam Greasley. But Liam Kane definitely on fire and flying at the moment in front of goal.
Yeah, big result for Michael United and Liam Kane and the team there today. And
Definitely.
Let's take a look at the combination leagues. We'll start with Canada Life Combination 1. Another 7-goal thriller this time between Union Mills and Corinthians over at Gary Moore. And Union Mills coming out on top on this one by 4-3.
Yeah, it's close, this one. I expected it, to be honest with you, Rob, because Corinthians have been playing really well of late. They had a tough start to the season, but putting some good results together now. And Union Mills as well aren't far away, because Union Mills are 3rd in the league up until lunchtime, and Corinthians are 8th. So a good battle there. But for Union Mills, it was Tyler Hughes with a couple of goals. James Young got 1, and Owen Murphy. It was Chester Bell, one of the young players, coming through with a couple of goals for Corinthians, and James McCants got the 3rd one.
And elsewhere in Combination 1, Laxey getting the better of Braddon again, this time in the Combination Leagues. Laxey 5, Braddon 0.
Yeah, that's all I've got. If you could text us through the scorers, please, 166 177.
And then next up, well, you don't see this very often in Manx football. A goalless draw. We don't say that all too often on this show, do we? Between Peel and St John's United. Neither could make the breakthrough. The deadlock could not be broken. Peel 0, St John's 0.
Yeah, and quite a sort of good performance this by St John's, because I got some information through who was sort of playing for Peel's combination, and says not even the inclusion of first teamers. Rhys Oates, great to see Rhys coming back. That's his first game since his operation. Lewis Moran in the combination today, and Louis Roberts as well couldn't break the deadlock. So sterling defensive performance by St John's. But when you see them players coming on, you just think there's goals in it, but it didn't happen. So well done to Janet.
We mentioned earlier Ayr United with that big win over Douglas Royal in the Premier League. They've managed to, in the combination leagues as well, Ayr United have managed another commanding victory over Douglas Royal 6-0.
Yeah, good performance. Phil Donegan with 1, Dec Leyland, Harvey Cleater, Aidan Cubbins back playing football. He got a couple of goals. And Mike Nixon, who Mike will probably be playing Masters tomorrow as well. So well done to him, and a goal today.
Let's move into DPS Limited Combination 2. 4 games there today, and Onken 8, Castletown 2 is the result that was filtered through to us before the programme, Tony.
Yeah, it was, and I've got the score come through 6-2, so if someone can confirm that for us. Haven't got Onken's goal scorers, but for Castletown, it was Baby Driver Glover with a goal, and Aidan Sansbury got the other one.
Very well, and then Jim's 3, Foxdale 3.
I haven't got Jim scorers, but I've got Foxdale's goal scorers, and Philip Santos with a couple of goals, and Corbin Schneid got the other one.
And we got Douglas High School Old Boys 5, Governors Athletic 1.
No goal scorers.
And last but certainly not least in Combination 2, Douglas Athletic 7, Douglas and District 1.
And 2 goal scorers to get the 8 goals. It was Rob Smith who scored his first goal for his club, Douglas and District. Well done, Rob. And Lee Ford playing for Douglas Athletic today. 7 goals he got. He got all 7. Good performance by him.
Well, we will come on to the draw for the Jackson's Isle of Man Under-18s Cup in just a few moments, but we'll take a quick deviation to the NWCFL Premier Division, where FC Isle of Man, after a recent string of relatively poor results, were heading away for the first time on the road for the first time since early November, going to the Ruby Civil Arena up against an in-form and strong Padiham side right now, and it wasn't to be in the first away game of 2024 for FC Isle of Man, as 2 first-half goals from Joel Brownhill and a late diving header from Tyler James were enough to give Padiham a 3-1 victory, with the only consolation for the Ravens, a Jack McVeigh penalty in the 86th minute, and that was followed by the Ravens finishing the game with 10 men. Jamie Corlett shown a straight red card for denying a clear goal-scoring opportunity. Well, shortly after the game, I caught up with the FC Isle of Man manager Paul Jones to get his thoughts on what was a tough day for his side in Lancashire. Paul, first away game of 2024, 3-1 defeat. A day to forget, would you say?
No, because some lessons kind of, I hope, have been learned, so I hope it's not forgotten. It's important it isn't forgotten, because our first 10-15 minutes was nowhere near the levels it needed to be in order to compete at this level of football, certainly against a team who were, got lots of confidence and got lots of energy and lots of belief. We feel like we had as well, but as a group, we're nowhere near the levels we needed to be to just get a foothold in the game, really. And once you're 2-0 down at this level of football, it should be difficult to get back into it. And I thought our reaction was very good, and I thought we did well for the large part of the remainder of the game, but that first 10-15 minutes just really did cost us today. So I hope the players and everybody doesn't forget that, because it's a very important lesson to learn.
You mentioned there that the first 10-15 minutes in particular were quite costly, but looking at the rest of the game, what meant that later on in the contest, particularly in the second half, you weren't able to get a foothold then? I mean,
I'm not one for excuses, but the playing on a grass pitch after having so long not playing on a grass pitch, I think it was towards the end of October since we last played on a grass pitch, and it was heavy at times. And I think we had Owen go off injured, we had Al Maitland go off injured, and some of the changes were because of that, really. And it's just a very different game on a grass pitch than an AstroTurf pitch, and we kind of adapted to it well in the main part, but not well enough to give ourselves a chance to win a game of football. And it was a different game completely. It was a battle. It was a stereotypical non-league game, really. And once we got our heads around that, we did quite well, but we didn't get our heads around that anywhere near quickly enough.
This rut, almost in terms of results, just doesn't seem to show any signs of abating at the moment. Where is the light at the end of the tunnel? Where do you see a turnaround coming from?
Yeah, again, I'd challenge you on that a little bit, Rob, if you don't mind, because we beat Burscough relatively comfortably, and again went 2-0 up against a good side last week. And for the large part, our performance today was on a par with a strong Padiham team. So, I think there was a point last season when we were in games and playing well and just not quite able to finish it off. And I think, as I've said to you before, you've got to keep applying pressure, and you've got to keep applying effort and energy, and make sure you don't back off at all. And things will turn around. They always do.
Paul Jones after his side's 3-1 defeat to Padiham in the NWCFL Premier Division over in Lancashire today. And Tony, quickly, just before we move on, FC Isle of Man, yes, they've have had that one win right toward the end of 2023 against Burscough at home, but it's another defeat in what's been a bit of a troubling run for Paul Jones' side. He insists that he's seeing a lot in the performances, just the results aren't quite there yet. What do you make of it?
Yeah, defensively, we've started conceding a bit too many goals. Last week was hard to take. It was just, we had that little spell in the middle where we conceded all those goals. But the problem is that Paul's just got to, try and get it sorted out. And, certainly today, conceded an early goal and put them under pressure. But it just shows you the fine lines, Rob, because we were looking at it at lunchtime. If FC Isle of Man had won, then they go within 3 points of Paddy Hammond. No, they would have had 2 games in hand. But now the gap is a lot bigger. It's a bit of a 6-pointer, isn't it? But, you know, to keep chipping away, it's always going to be difficult. And with, 2 home games coming up now, hopefully they'll get some points on and give the Manx crowd something to shout about.
Yeah, FC Isle of Man back on home turf next Saturday at 6 o'clock up against Kendal Town. We will be bringing you full live match commentary on that day, Saturday the 20th of January. Myself and Tony Mepham, I believe he'll be around as well by my right-hand shoulder. Full live match commentary of FC Isle of Man versus Kendal Town next Saturday at 6 o'clock on Manx Radio, AM 1368 and digital. Well, let's turn our attentions now then to the cup draw taking place in football today. It is the Jackson's Isle of Man Under-18s Cup. So, Tony, very quickly to start with, could you just tell us the teams that are in the hat?
Yeah, certainly can. And the under-18s is going well. I think the league should be decided on Wednesday. There's Ramsey atop at the moment. Corinthians play against Braddon, so that could be a pointer where it goes. But the teams in the hat are Union Mills, Rushen, Ramsey, Laxey, Jims, Corinthians, Colby and Braddon. So Ben is going to do the draw for me. There should be 8 numbers in that bag. If you could, please, Ben.
Number 2.
Number 2 is a home game for Colby.
Number 4.
Number 4 is Jim's.
Number 1.
Number 1 is Braddon.
Number 3.
And number 3 is Corinthians.
Number 5.
Number 5 is Laxey.
Number 7.
And number 7 is Rushen. The last one.
Number 6.
Number 6 is Ramsey.
Against number 8.
And number 8 is Union Mills. All these games will be played at the Bowl. And the first 2 games will be played on January the 24th. Well, the way we do it is the first 2 matches out of the hat will be on those first dates. We don't change them around. So the first one out was Colby against Jims. Braddon will play Corinthians. That'll be the later kickoff. And then on January the 31st, the 2 games, Laxey against Rushen will be at 6:15 and Ramsey will play Union Mills at 8 p.m. So thank you, Ben.
Just a quick question with regards to the Isle of Man under-18s, not just the under-18s, but the junior setups as a whole. I know you've made a couple of comments toward the end of last season about how junior involvement in Manx football in general seems to have grown quite considerably over the last season or so. How is it looking this season, would you say?
Really good. Numbers are up or on par. They're so close to each other, so it's absolutely fantastic. And well done to the Junior League and everyone that organises the fixtures there. But most importantly, well done to the players, well done to the coaches, because without them, they wouldn't gain the experience that they are coming through. And when you look at it, Rob, now the young players that are coming into senior level, also into FC Isle of Man, they should be proud of what's going on in Junior League, because that's where it all starts. But the under-18s, we've got more teams in it this year than we've had for a while. We've got the Cal Cup that's coming up usually about March when the light nights come, and that's under 21 competition. But there's been some real good battles in the under-18s this year, and it's funny how Ben's drawn it out. 2 of the favourites to win the league actually have been drawn together in the cup, so it gives like the other teams around them a little bit of a chance to progress in the cup.
Indeed. Well, that's not the end of the footballing action this weekend, the games today and the Cup this evening, but there's football taking place tomorrow. Among those, 2 big games in the women's game, and that is the semi-finals of the Canada Life Women's Floodlit Cup, Tony.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we still haven't got a date for the final. I think we're going to try and push if we can for the 10th of February, but a little bit to go yet. Let's get these 2 semis out of the way. But tomorrow, Corinthians against Onken, that's at 2:10. I believe if Brian Callow has told me the truth, and I'm not questioning him, but there's 1 or 2 players maybe missing for Onken because there's a special birthday party on. But people like Amy Speed, Kaylee Callow might be missing, but Ruby Palmer's in there. So and I think Charlie Moore might be available. I think she's home from university at the moment, so that'll help matters. But Corinthians, Millie Dawson's been in fantastic form since she's turned into a senior player. She's been waiting so patient since she's about 13 years of age. She wanted to play senior football. She's scoring plenty of goals. Erin Sells is still here at the moment. Emily Rawlinson will make it strong, and good to see Holly Sumner and Holly Stevens in there as well. looking at Douglas Royal against Peel, it just depends what players are available for Douglas Royal. But the standout player is Becky Cole. Kaylee Georgeson's in there as well, and Jesh Marshall. But for Peel, Becky Corkish is probably having her best season so far, scoring goals at the halfway stage, scoring plenty. And with Maxine Jones, Lisa Castaigne's a really good player, and Kaylee Gregor as well. Then it just points to me to Corinthians and Peel final. But the other two teams are very capable of beating them. It's going to be on the day, and we'll see how they battle tomorrow afternoon.
You half answered the question I was going to ask you. Would we potentially see an upset, or will we see a Corinthians-Peel showdown again? But as you mentioned there, Tony, Onken and Douglas Royal, they've completely earned their right to be in the last four here, and they won't make it easy for Corinthians and Peel in the respective ties.
No, they won't. And I think the main thing for Onken and for Douglas Royal is to have their best team out. That's the wish that they want. And I think with Onken missing maybe one or two tomorrow, that might just hamper them. But then you want Corinthians and Peel to be missing maybe one or two players. But, the Women's Floodlit Cup, I think it's a great competition, Rob, because all the games are played at the Bowl. So it's a great place to play. 9 times out of 10, we're in the dark. I know the first game kicks off at 2, sort of 10, but you're still sort of finishing off when it's down. It's just brilliant with the lights on. The pitch down there is fantastic. And let's just hope that we have two really good games.
Well, Tony Meppen, thank you very much. As always, a pleasure to have you here.
Manx Radio Sport.
Well, now we turn our attention to Manx rugby, and both Douglas and Vagabonds in their respective leagues have been on the road today, both of them seemingly with a sense of optimism. Douglas with a good recent run of impressive form going into 2024, and Vagabonds looking to keep themselves right in the mix toward the summit of Counties 4 ADM Lancs Cheshire. And what's more, we had two games locally as well in the Ravenscroft Manx Shield, and to take us through all of those, we'll be looking to get in touch now, and hopefully he's there on the other end of the microphone. A very good evening to Dave Christian. Dave, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Rob. It's been an absolutely belting day rugby-wise. The Manx flag is flying high in the northwest of the UK with wins for both Douglas and Vagabonds on the road. They're on the 6:20 flight from Manchester back home, and I would imagine the mood at the airport is pretty buoyant. Douglas away at Whitchurch this afternoon. They had 3 wins on the bounce underneath the belt today. It was 41-14 they won away. And great news as well from Douglas elsewhere in the table. Altrincham Kersal, their nearest rivals, lost, which means Douglas climb up to 6th place in the standings in Regional 2 Northwest. Their next game is in 2 weeks' time, and it's against Altrincham Kersal at Portashee. I think next weekend Douglas have a week off because all their rivals are playing rearranged games due to bad weather, I think either in December or last weekend. But Douglas have managed to keep clear. They do have a rearranged game to play against Kirby Lonsdale, but that's not until the 9th of March because travel arrangements dictate such. But today's performance really good. 5 tries for Douglas. Blake Snell, Kyle Martin and Angus Wheeler all got a try apiece, and Sam McCord out on the wing. He hogged the limelight with 2 this afternoon, and Luke Hyland's boot chipped away off the kicking tee, and he bagged a total of 16 points for himself. It's an away win. It's an away win with a bonus point. Douglas 5 points, up to 6th place. And realistically, when I look at the league table for Regional 2 Northwest, they've got the potential to climb just a little bit higher. The gap to 5th place Burnage is now only 5 points. Burnage, I think, have to come to Portashee later this season, so Douglas got a good chance of closing that gap. But above Burnage, I think the gap's probably a little bit too big now. Crewe and Nantwich are in 4th place, 49 points for them. So I don't think Douglas are realistically going to be able to climb that high. Although I think Crewe and Nantwich have to come to Portashee as well. So there's still plenty to play for Douglas this season. And if they can get up to sort of Crewe and Nantwich, they're knocking on the door for the promotion spots. Although the top 2 in the division, Birkenhead Park and Bowden, are perhaps a little bit too far ahead up at the very top. But congratulations to Douglas. Great performance for them. A week of rest now, and then another very winnable game against Altrincham Kersal in 2 weeks' time at Portashee. In Counties 4, ADM, Lancashire and Cheshire, great news for Vagabonds as well. They won away from home this afternoon, beating Marple 24 points to 17. And there was some good news from elsewhere in the table for Vagabonds as well. Second place, Cole and Nelson lost to Ellesmere Port. Ellesmere Port, if you remember, beat Vagabonds last week in what was a little bit of a surprise. But Ellesmere Port climbing up the table now. They're breathing down Vagabonds' neck. Game in hand, only 6 points behind. So Vaga's got to look a little bit over the shoulder. But that defeat for Cole and Nelson means that Vagabonds' gap to the promotion spots is only 4 points. And they play Cole and Nelson in the very last game of the season on the 6th of April. So that could turn out to be a belter. This afternoon, Vagabonds down to 12 men at one stage, so they showed a great bit of resilience there away at Marple, but they managed to hold on, closed out the game. Tries for them today from Regan Williams, Daniel Bonwick, Mark Oldfield and Cam Finley, and Finley also kicked 2 conversions. So excellent performance from Vagabonds. Bonus point win away from home. You can never sneeze at one of those. And if you'd offered them that before they left, they'd have bit your hand off. In the Manx Shield, Ramsey won big at the Muirach Park, 72-12 the final score up there this afternoon. That's again we covered for Saturday Live. 2 tries apiece for Ramsey, for Brandon Atchison, Josh Curtine and Jake Richmond. Ramsey 34-0 ahead at half-time. Other tries came from Ben Hardman, Will Millsop, Ryan Wren, Sam Corlett, Danny Howard and Stevie Neal, with Brandon Atchison kicking 6 conversions this afternoon. So the Nomads got 2 late but very well-deserved consolation tries. I mean, you can't hide away from a 72-12 scoreline, but Nomads were very competitive in patches, lost out a little bit at the breakdown. Ramsey a bit more effective at turning over the ball, and had a dominant scrummage as well, and those sort of things going against you. I mean, you may get possession, but you don't have it for very long, and that's the problem Nomads, I think, suffered with a little bit this afternoon. But battled hard they did, and in the end picked up 2 tries, one from Finn McGregor, one from Mark Young, and he converted that one himself. So well done to those guys, and particularly Finn McGregor, Mark Young and everybody else who is still battling away, 72 points down with 5 minutes to go. There's a lot of commitment shown in there, and Nomads can be proud of themselves, even if the result was a little bit one-sided. Down at Paulson Park, Western Vikings emerged 48-31 winners against Castletown. Hat-trick there for Vikings for Tom Randall. Harry Goodwin got 2, and there were single tries from Ed Knight and Morgan Armstrong-Patton. On the score sheet too was Jack Goodwin, who touched down in his first competitive outing in 18 months after a serious mountain bike accident. So welcome back to Jack Goodwin. It's good to see him on the field, and he'll make a big difference to Western Vikings for the remainder of this season. And Tom Randall kicked 3 conversions for Vikings, and Harry Goodwin got their 4th. So well done to Western Vikings, and well done for Castletown for actually making it down there. It's their home fixture, or their home ground, but I know they've struggled to get a team out. They've managed to do something today, and let's hope the guys can kick on from that, and we see a lot more of them on the scoreboard for the rest of this season.
Dave Christian, thank you very much, as always.
Manx Radio Sport.
And finally this evening we turn our attention to hockey, and it's been the second week this Saturday of the 2024 men's and ladies hockey seasons after some dramatic results in the curtain-raising games last weekend, which included both of the reigning Premier League champions, backers Men's A and Castletown Ladies A, both suffering defeats. Could they bounce back this week, or will others try and take the opportunity to take the crown away from them over the course of the season, and of course across the other divisions as well? We're going to take a look through the results from today's fixtures, and also we will be bringing you the live draw for the ladies and men's cup competitions in just a few minutes time. But first of all, as always, he's waited so patiently for his turn in the spotlight. Good evening to Ben Cunningham.
Good evening, thank you.
Well, I say that you've waited a while. You were actually, I suppose, the supporting act for the football draw earlier, so you got that at least.
Yeah, well, I've hired Tony to be the supporting act for our draws, so...
Fantastic. Right, let's take a look at the fixtures taking place today. Plenty to get through, of course, during the men's and ladies' season each week. Let's start with the Canada Life Men's Premier League. The early pushback today was 12:30 at QE2. Valkaise up against Backers B. Valkaise went into this favourites, and they've made it count. They've beaten Backers B by 5-0, Ben.
Yeah, good result there for Valkaise. What they needed after being held by the new team on the block in the Men's Premier League, Harlequins last week. Ollie Webster with 2, Chris Thomas with 1, Sam Moffat with 1, and Oscar Lace with 1.
And then the same scoreline in the next game in the Men's Premier League, which is a 1:30 start at King William's College between Backers A, the defending champions, beaten last week in the opening day, as we mentioned, up against the Castletown A side, who are certainly capable of shocking some of the top teams in this league. Not to be, though, for the Southerners today. Backers A back on the form they've shown in the last few years. They've beaten Castletown A by 5-0. Yeah,
just the result Backers A really wanted after last week's opening weekend season defeat. Tony Bentley Roberts with a hat-trick, Elliot Reid and Tom Lotham with a goal each.
And the late game in the Men's Premier League today was at 3:30 at the NSC, and that's Harlequins A up against Vikings A. Vikings A beating Backers A last weekend, hoping to kick on, whilst Harlequins A still just trying to find their feet in the Men's Premier League. Vikings A, a professional display from them. They've won again, so back-to-back wins at the start of the season for them. They've beaten Harlequins A by 4-1.
Yeah, good result there, and from the report I've got, it sounds like Harlequins gave Vikings a really good game, 3-1 at half-time. John Cooper with 2 and Macklin Wilson with 2 for Vikings A. And then for Harlequins, the consolation goal was by Ronan Santalatoyo.
And then we move into the Ladies Premier League. The early start was a 12:30 pushback at the NSC, and this saw Harlequins A up against the Castletown Ladies A side, the defending champions who, as we also mentioned, were beaten last weekend. But Castletown A getting back on the winning trail early on, a great response for them up against Harlequins A. Castletown A beating Harlequins by 5-0.
Yeah, just the result Castletown A wanted after last week's defeat. Helena Allen with a goal, Evie Watson with a goal, Dulcie Tier with a goal, and then Hannah Lease with 2 goals. But definitely the result Castletown wanted after last week.
And then straight after, the NSC at 2 o'clock saw Vikings A up against Castletown B. A tough task on paper, especially for this Castletown B side, coming up into the Ladies Premier League up against a Vikings A side looking to continue their strong start in this division. And Vikings A did manage to do that, beating Castletown B by 4-0. But Castletown B, that is a respectable scoreline for them.
Yeah, 2 goals in the first half and then 2 goals in the second half for Vikings A. And like you say, a good battle there by Castletown B to not let Vikings run away with it. Kim Carney with 2 goals, Sarah Blackman and Danny McIntosh with a goal each.
And the other pushback at 2 o'clock was out at QE2 in Peel. That saw Valkaise A winners on the opening day up against Backers A, and it's back-to-back wins now for Valkaise A as well. They've beaten Backers A by 4-1.
Yeah, that's making things look really interesting at the top of the league at the moment between both Vikings and Valkaise. For Valkaise, it was Eleanor Devereaux and Andrea Littlejohn and Jess Sloder with 2 goals, and then Backers' consolation was Rosie Callow.
Then let's take a look at the respective Division 1s. Start off in Men's Division 1. There were 3 games there today. We'll start off with the early pushback between Valkaise B and Vikings C over at QE2. A good result here for Valkaise B today, beating Vikings C by 3-0.
Yeah, sounds a really close game, that. Neil Jacobs with 2 and Ethan Adams with a goal.
And then elsewhere, the late pushback was 3:30 at Castle Rushen High School between Harlequins B and Vikings B. A battle of the B teams, but certainly a big difference in the scoreline here. Big win for Vikings B, 6-0.
Yeah, big result there for Vikings B. One they'll definitely be happy with. Of course, Harlequins, they've put up a good fight there, but of course, Vikings B's strength has just proven there today. Jacob Hardens with 2, Josh Knight with 1, Charlie Bell with 1, Braden Maston with 1, and Lee Cowley with 1.
And elsewhere in the other game in Men's Division 1, a good result for Ramsey A with that long journey down south today, beating Castletown B by 3-0.
Yeah, Nat Smith with 2 and Connor Parthwaite with a goal, and a good result there for Ramsey A.
Then we move into Ladies Division 1. Early pushback at 11 at the NSC was Backers B and Vikings B. A close game, this one, but it's finished. Backers B 1, Vikings B 2.
Yeah, and the report I had was it was such an even match game, chances at both ends, but Vikings found the winner. Leah Meller with the goal for Backers B, and then for Vikings B, it was Morven Smith and Georgie Higgins.
Then elsewhere at 2 o'clock in the north at Ramsey Grammar School, a good result for Ramsey Ladies A, beating Castletown C 4-0.
Yeah, good result there for Ramsey. I think Castletown had a task ahead of them today against a former Premier League side. Vic Garner with 2, Charlotte Brooks with 1, and Christina Kameen with 1.
And the other game in Ladies Division 1 saw Valkyries B pitted against Backers C. Another good result for Valkyries today. Valkyries B 4, Backers C 0.
Yeah, good result there. Just what they wanted after being held by Castletown last weekend. Steph Cottier with 2, Molly Thomas with 1, and Flo Barber with 1.
And then we go into the respective Division 2s. Men's Division 2, 12 o'clock at King William's College saw Backers D up against Castletown C. Backers D winning by 4-2.
Yeah, and this was one of 2 games I've umpired today, and it was a really good game, really enjoyable. And Castletown were really good as well, but Backers were just a bit more clinical today. Jazz Slights with 1, Dave Cowley with 1, Dave Neal with 1, and Christian Davis with 1. And then Castletown, it was Paul Bolt and Ryan Egberry.
And the other game in Men's Division 2, wow, this was a bit of a goal fest, wasn't it? 3 o'clock at King William's College between Ramsey B and Backers Colts. Ramsey B 4, Backers Colts 8.
And half-time, it was 1-1. So the second
half...
So
it all happened in the second half.
It all happened in the second half, so unbelievable, really. For Ramsey B, it was Tom Howard with 2 and Dan Cross with 2. And then for Backers Colts, it was Lucas Harding, Will Wiseman with 2, George Leese with 1, Ollie Christian with 1, Harry McKenzie with 1, and Dan Stevenson with 2 against his former team.
I know you don't have to pay to watch hockey games on the Isle of Man, but if you did, you'd have certainly got your money's worth if you went down to watch that one. Okay, taking a look elsewhere in Ladies Division 2. Valkyries C 2, Castletown E 0.
Yeah, good result there for Valkyries C, Vikings Z. Very young squad, but Valkyries C proven how strong they are. Lavinia Washington and Isla Kelly with goals each.
And we also had Vikings C1, Harlequins B4.
Yeah, this is the second game I umpired today. Sarah Presley, after many chances at goal, that's what the report said. So if you don't like that, I'm sorry. But and for Harlequins, it was Emma Worsfoot, Kerry Williams, and Laura Smith with 2 goals.
And last but certainly not least, rounding off the senior fixtures on Saturday in Manx men's and ladies hockey, 3:30 at Ramsey Grammar School in Ladies Division 2. It's finished Castletown D3, Ramsey B 2.
Yeah, really close game, and I had a feeling this would be either a stalemate or just split by a goal. For Ramsey B, it was Abigail Harvey with 1, Becky Weimer with 1, and then for Castletown D, it was Lola Hornby Wheeler and Faith Watson with 2.
And one message I did get from the result that we got through here with those details, thanks for sending that, was it was a well-fought game by both sides, thoroughly enjoyable game.
Absolutely.
And then last but certainly not least in hockey, in terms of the fixtures taking place today, there were 2 more fixtures in the under-15s league. One of them was an early pushback at Castle Rushen High School at 11 o'clock today. Backers 3, Valkyries 6.
Yeah, some real big score lines today and some really close ones there. Ollie Partington with 1, Seb Leave with 1, and Ryan Cartwright with 1 for Backers. And then for Valkyries, it was Liam Harrison with 4 and Ryan Thomas with 2.
And the other game in the under-15s league is ongoing right now. Ramsey Rogues and Rascals versus Castletown Sabres at King William's College. That pushed back at 4:30, so that game's still going as we speak. But Ben, have we had any updates since then?
Unfortunately, my sources are not answering their phones, so it must be a really...
Probably busy playing hockey.
Yeah, they probably are, but really, really close game. Probably getting played there, but yeah, no score come through, or no latest score, but... a big shout out to the umpires that have all umpired this weekend. All of you have had lots of praise this weekend from captains.
Very good to hear. Okay, let's move it on to the cup competitions in men's and ladies hockey going forward. We will be bringing you the draws in just a moment for the ladies and men's competitions. But before we get started, Ben, we just need to clarify. For the ladies competitions today will involve the live draws for the ladies cup, ladies plate and ladies bowl. In the men's competition today, it is just the men's cup competition. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're only drawing the men's cup for the men's draws. The men's plate is going to be getting drawn on Monday at the MHA's meeting. This is just due to a last-minute change between what's happening with the men's plate and the men's bowl. So that is going to be getting drawn on Monday, but we will let the draw be known, and we will let Manx Radio know so that you can publicise it.
Very well. Well, let's move into the Ladies' Cup competitions draw. We are going to start with the Ladies' Cup. So, Ben, just to start with, could you explain what this first round is going to look like and which are the teams in the hat?
Okay, so the teams are Castletown A, Vikings A, Valkyries A, Backers A, Castletown B, and Harlequins A. There's going to be 2 ties drawn and 2 byes drawn. So, Tony has the ball bag, if you would like to do the honours.
We've got a role reversal here.
First one out, number 4.
Is Backers A.
Number 6.
Harlequins A.
Number 5.
Is Castletown B.
Against number 2.
Vikings A.
And then the last one, number 3.
Is Valkyries A.
And number 1.
Castletown A.
So just confirmation there of the Ladies' Cup competition first round draw. It'll be Backers A versus Harlequins A, Castletown B versus Vikings A, and then byes in this round for Valkyries A and Castletown A. Ben, of those 2 ties that will be taking place, are either of them or both of them do they stand out to you?
Both of them really do stand out. I think both of them will be really close. Of course, Vikings A played Castletown B today, and Castletown B gave them a good game. As for Harlequins against Backers, they're yet to meet in the league, but they look very even, I must admit, and that one could be a very close one.
Very well. Let's move on to the ladies' plate competitions then. So, Ben, again, could you just let us know the teams in the hat and what the format for this round is going to look like?
So the teams in the ladies' plate are Valkyries B, Ramsey A, Backers B, Vikings B, Castletown C, and Backers C. So there's going to be 1 tie drawn and 3 teams are going to have byes.
Okay.
Yep.
Tony Mepham is back once again. Here we go.
Number 4.
Is Vikings B.
Against number 3.
Backers B.
And then I think it's byes, is it? Number
Yep.
5.
For Castletown C.
Number 2.
Ramsey A.
And number 1.
And that will be Valkyries B.
So there we go, the draw for the ladies' plates competition. Opening round, the 1 tie that will take place is Vikings B versus Backers B. And then there are byes into the next round for Castletown C, Ramsey A, and Valkyries B. And just very quickly, I was just looking across my desk here as Tony was making that draw. There was a lot of flourishes going on. It was quite dramatic. It's not a complaint, it's an observation. I was actually quite impressed with that. So, Ben, with that 1 tie that's going to take place in the ladies' plate, Vikings B and Backers B. What do you make of it?
Yeah, that's going to be a really tasty one. And if it's anything to go by today's match, we could be in for a thriller in that one.
So that's the 1 tie taking place. Okay, let's move on to the final draw for the ladies' competitions. That is the Ladies' Bowl competition. So again, Ben, the teams in the hat, please, and what the format of the first round will look like.
Okay, so this one's going to go straight into semi-finals, as there are only 4 teams in this Ladies' Bowl, and that's Castletown D, Ramsey B, Valkyries C, and Vikings C. So, Tony, when you're ready.
4 in the hat.
4 in the hat.
Number 1.
Castletown D.
Against number 4.
Vikings C.
And number 2.
Ramsey B.
Against number 3.
Valkyries C.
Okay, so the draw for the semi-finals of the Ladies' Bowl competition are Castletown D versus Vikings C and Ramsey B versus Valkyries C. Again, Ben, any of those 2 ties jump out at you, I guess?
I think both of them are really close, and they'll be both really competitive. So, yeah, lots to look forward to there. So the Ladies' Cup and the Ladies' Plate, those games will be played on the weekend of the 27th of Jan. And the Ladies' Bowl, that semi-final, will be getting played on the 2nd of March.
Okay, so if you just missed that in terms of the date for the competition, so the first round of the Ladies' Cup will take place on the 27th of January, Saturday the 27th. On the same day will also be the first round, the one fixture in the Ladies' Plate competition, and then for the semi-finals of the Ladies' Bowl, because there are only 4 teams involved, that will take place at the beginning of March, so Saturday the 2nd of March for that one. Okay, so we'll now move on to the live draw for the Men's Cup competition. As we mentioned before, if you missed it a moment ago, it is only the draw for the Men's Cup competition that will be taking place today. The draw for the Men's Plate competition will be taking place at the Manx Hockey Association on Monday, and confirmation of that will come in due course. So again, Ben, for the Men's Cup competition opening round, could you explain the format and the teams involved?
Yep, so we've got 6 teams in this, which are Backers A, Vikings A, Castletown A, Valkyries A, Backers B, and Harlequins A. There'll be 2 ties drawn and 2 teams will have byes into the next round, and these games will be played on the 27th of Jan. So Tony
Mepham, do the honours.
Number 6.
Harlequins A.
Against number 4.
Valkyries A.
Second game. Number 5.
Backers B.
Against number 1.
Backers A.
Number 2.
Vikings A.
Against number 3.
Castletown A.
So confirmation of the Men's Cup competition first round draw. Harlequins A versus Valkyries A. Backers B versus Backers A. And then there are byes for Vikings A and Castletown A. Ben, your thoughts on that draw?
Well, Backers meeting their B team, that'll be a really good derby game, that will. As for the other tie, Harlequins against Valkyries, when these two met on the opening weekend, it was a 2-all draw. So could it be as close as that in this cup competition? We wait and see.
Could very well be. And just very quickly as well, as you mentioned already with the ladies' competitions, when are the Men's Cup competition games due to be played?
So the men's games are due to be played on the weekend of the 27th of Jan.
Excellent. Well, we will just, if you have missed any of those draws before, we will just very quickly go through the draws that have been taking place for the Ladies and Men's Cup competitions in Manx Hockey. We'll start with the Ladies' Cup. Fixtures to be played on the 27th of January. Backers A versus Harlequins A. Castletown B versus Vikings A. And then there are byes for Valkyries A and Castletown A. In the Ladies' Plate first round, game due to be played on the 27th of January as well. The one game taking place is Vikings B versus Backers B, and then there are byes to the next round for Castletown C, Ramsey A, and Valkyries B. In the Ladies' Bowl, just 4 teams involved, so straight to the semi-final phase. These games to be played on the 2nd of March, and they will be Castletown D versus Vikings C, and Ramsey B versus Valkyries C. And finally, the one draw made in the Men's Cup competitions for the Men's Cup itself. These games to be played on the 27th of January, and they are Harlequins A versus Valkyries A, and Backers B versus Backers A. And then there are byes into the next round for Vikings A and Castletown A. Well, I think that brings us nicely to the conclusion of Saturday Sports Classified this week. Many thanks, as always, to Tony Mepham, Ben Cunningham and Dave Christian for some fantastic analysis of today's sporting action across the Isle of Man and beyond. Thank you so much for joining us here on Manx Radio AM 1368. We will now be handing back over to Radio Caroline North for the rest of the evening. So thank you very much again for joining us, and have yourself a wonderful Saturday and a wonderful rest of your weekend. But from us, until next time, it is bye for now.
Manx Radio Sport.